welcome to my Gilded Skies Tips and Tricks Part 1. In this video, I'll be talking about tips and strategies you can use to beat the dungeon faster, easier, and more efficiently. I'll be talking about all of the rooms up until second boss, so stay tuned for Part 2 when it's out. With that said, let's get into the video. Also, thank you for 500 subscribers. Let's first talk about the mobs. There are 2 melee mobs and 2 ranged mobs. The first type of mobs are the warriors. The warriors will attack and leave a rectangle of poison on the ground that ticks rapidly, and even stays after the mob is dead. The second type of mob is the knight, which does one massive circular attack that deals a huge amount of damage, as you can see. The first ranged mob is the mage. The mage casts a massive beam in the shape of an X that has extremely long range. The beam will then stun and invoke an anti-heal effect for 3 seconds on the player that is hit by it. These mobs are probably the hardest to deal with. Not to mention, the mages can even target players in a separate room. The final mob is the familiar. This mob is probably the easiest to avoid, but its lava attack remains for some time after it is killed. This mob is really a test of patience more than anything, due to its unique mechanic. Now, let's talk about First Boss. First Boss has a really unique mechanic that forces the player to face away from the boss until the on-screen text is gone. Although the boss forces the player to turn around, you are actually able to turn only slightly left or right to avoid the attack. If you are one of the first people to enter the boss, you are able to hit the boss just before the attack goes off. This maneuver is super risky to attempt, especially if playing on hardcore mode. The next attack are the fire trails. The trails target 4 players at random and follow you for a short time. If you stop moving at any point, you will start to take hits repeatedly. These green circles will also be spread around the map, and you have to be inside one to survive the yellow flash attack. The boss also has 3 pink orbs that randomly target 3 players after each attack phase. They will first show an initial path of which the orbs will follow. Then upon arrival, they will explode and deal a massive amount of damage to any player within the radius of the attack. After First Boss has been defeated, the door on the right will open, revealing 2 separate mob groups. The first mob group is fairly simple to aggro. All you have to do is use inner and run forward, preferably without casting your damage spell. The reason why you want to hold your hit is to have it ready for the next mob group, since both groups are relatively close together. Aggroing the next mob group is a bit tricky, so let me explain. You want to first start on the left and walk to the right as the mages and familiars are attacking, then make a loop to the left, aggroing the knights as you make your way back. Aggroing this mob group down the middle is inefficient, since the familiars shoot at your team, making it harder for your team to hit the mobs. With those mobs gone, a large group of mobs will spawn behind you in the first boss room. Since this group of mobs can be hard to hit, a specific aggro is needed to ensure none of the mobs are missed. What you want to do is place yourself slightly left of the mobs, then start running forward to hit as you see your team approaching from the right. Run to the right with your team after hitting the mobs, but make sure you wait until your team is in range of the mobs so that they do not get stunned. Never hit the mobs as soon as they spawn. This forces the aggro to drag the mobs away from everyone else and making the mobs' attacks unpredictable. To add insult to injury, players that die early will then spawn into the next room, blocking the entrance and preventing your team from attacking. The final room before second boss is infamously known as the Death Room, because of its narrow entrance and lack of space. The aggro for this room is probably the hardest out of all other rooms in the dungeon, since it is very easy to mess up and die as the aggro. There are several different aggros that are used for this room, but I'll go ahead and explain how I do it. You first want to run in on the left side, hit the mobs, then walk to the left. Walking to the right also works, but can be risky if one of the mobs were to attack. Starting your aggro in the middle of the room is very inadequate, since the familiars block the entrance. This can easily happen if the aggro does not give your team enough room to run into the room, but also ensuring the aggro has room to stand after hitting the mobs. Well, that's all for this video. I hope you all enjoyed and maybe learned something you didn't already know. Let me know if you guys have any questions regarding any of the strategies I talked about, or if I missed anything important. Stay tuned for part 2, where I will cover second boss and final boss in detail. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you all next time.